Let's welcome Louise Griffith.
Hey, hi there. Thank you very much, Les. I'm happy to be here. And so today we're going to spend time talking about You're Worth It, Let Nothing Hold You Back. And I'm going to be highlighting 3 main points. Honor your wisdom, choose your story, and celebrate your magnificence. So some years ago, I had a profound experience while working out at Curves, which some of you women have been to. Women's a place where you go around different circuits and exercise on machines. And a woman to my left, younger than I, told me that she had lost 65 pounds so far that year. And I inquired, I was curious. I said, well, how did this happen at this time in your life? And she said, I woke up one morning and just decided I was worth it. I woke up and decided I was worth it. And that stayed with me for days. It wouldn't go away. And I decided that she had given me a nugget. Because if you don't think you're worth it, whatever your it may be, and I don't, it may never happen or not to the level that it can. So I want you to begin thinking right away about your it. What is a current it that you have in your life that you're listening to? And also to go back to when you were younger and you first remember having an it. And what I mean by that is that you had a wisdom that it's just like you didn't know that you had I call it your soul knew it in inner wisdom. But actually, when you look back, you did. It's like you put a stake in the ground and you just knew that this was the next piece for you. And so come with me to high school. And I want you to I'm going to tell you a little quick story about as I remembered my first debt. And I want you to be thinking about your life because what you had inside of you then, you have now. So I was a freshman at the Academy of Holy Angels, a Catholic girls' school. Oh my gosh. And I want to tell you, we wore the ugliest uniforms. No, really, I did a survey, the ugliest. Except for, guess what? I really liked my school. And I had good friends there and good leadership opportunities. And during that year, my parents were going through a divorce, which some of you may have experienced. And I could tell that things were going to be changing for sure. And I didn't really have a lot of compassion for my mother. I did later, but as a teenager, I was just thinking about my own life. And so when she told me that at the end of the summer that I could not go back to Holy Angels, I was furious. I was angry enough about the divorce, but this I knew. And by the way, I wasn't the type of teenager who thought I should get everything I wanted. I wasn't that type. It's just something inside of me knew that I was supposed to go there. And so I went to my, what I call soul place, which was Lake Harriet, a nearby lake. And I'm wondering, do you have a soul place? Do you have a place where you can go to just be, to be quiet, to be figuring things out? And if not, I used to be a teacher, so I love to give homework. Put that down as something that I want you to consider. It doesn't matter where it is. You know, it could be a yoga place, could be fishing. It doesn't matter, but that you have your own place where you can go. All right, so I went there, and I was just like furious. And if you were inside my head, you'd hear, you guys might be wrecking your life. You're not going to wreck mine. La, 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 la. And then, if I may, I heard, you'll go back. I'm like, really? Tell me more about that. Get a job. And I'm like, well, that's brilliant. That's what I'll do. I'll get a job. And so I went home and I told my mom that I was going back to Holy Angels and I was going to get a job. And she looked at me as if I meant it. And I did. I was just lacking a few plans, like details. And so the next day, I decided that I'd go out and apply for a job. And so I walked about 6 blocks to a candy shop. And the woman there was kind, looked up, may I help you? I said, yes, I've come to get a job. She said, how old are you? I said, well, I'll be 15 at the end of the month. Okay, well, you have to be 16. And I could tell she meant it. All right, so then I went 6 blocks further down the street and to a drugstore. And the owner and pharmacist looked up when I walked in. May I help you? I said, yes, please. And by the way, on the way, I thought, you know what? I'm going to speak from my heart. I need a job. I can't be walking all around the city. And so I did speak from my heart. And I told him I wanted to help get a job to help pay tuition. I would do anything, even clean, however I would have. And I remember his eyes just looking at me. And I thought, I didn't know what was going on, but he returned with an application. I filled it in, and 2 days later, I got a call that I could work just till 7 o'clock and only so many hours. And I know that I know this, even though I was never told. I know that he created the job that I had, which is putting alphabetized charge slips in order. And I worked with a woman named Marlis who was grouchy. Can you see her? Like really grouchy. So I'm just filing the slips, and I thought, well, I could be grouchy too, or I'm just going to start sending her positive energy, which is something I still do today. And if you work around people who are, or live with people who are grouchy, send them positive energy. And would you believe, in time, she began to smile, began to laugh, and it was sort of fun to be with. And then when I was 16, I could go on the floor, and I ended up working there 7 years. So when you think back, what was your it? I know someone, a coaching client, wanted to be a teacher, and his father was a CPA and an accountant, and he just had decided that his son would do that and take over part of the business. Except for my client knew that he wanted to be a teacher and a coach, and so he honored that. And his father was not pleased, but today he has gone through the role of teacher, coach, and is a principal of a school, and he is doing great work in the world. So what are you remembering about your life, about your it? And what are you thinking about in your life now? What is the current it that you may have? Is it time to change relationships, make them healthier? Is it time to have a health change? Is it time to change jobs? If you will listen, you will pay attention to that. And I think, by the way, that children are very wise. What do you think? You are wise, and I think the children we know are wise, but you just don't think of it because you're a child. I want to tell you a story about my grandson when he was 4. I ended up spending the night, and he's the type of person who started off in one room and then would go to another. And he was in my daughter's bed, and he it was like not quite 5 in the morning, and I was saying to him, hey, Lukey, let's just take a little rest here, okay? But he was looking up at the ceiling, and he said, Nana, old people die. And I said, yes, sweetheart, they do. And he said, Nana, are you old? I said, oh, honey, I don't feel old at all. I just love life. I like la, 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 la. Took a breath, and then he said, Nana, you look sort of old. So then I didn't need to say the next thing, however I did. And I said, Lukey, do you think that Grandma Kay looks old? And what do you think his response was? You're right. No, she loves that part of the story. But he felt secure enough to be just saying what was on his heart. And so are you thinking about a soul place for you? Are you thinking about an it that you had that you just knew and you made it happen? Are you thinking about a current it? All right. So I also know that there are times when we hear some inner wisdom and we don't pay attention to it. And I want to tell you my favorite recent one. I have a friend, by the way, who's like ultra sharp. She can't help it. She just like is ultra sharp, classic, good taste. She lived in Manhattan, shopped in Manhattan, you know, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, and also, by the way, the most important thing is she's very nice. And I asked her to help me find a new sandal for spring. And she goes, great, let's meet at TJ Maxx. And so when I met her there, she was in the shoe place, all excited, all excited. And she had found the sandal, and I looked at it and I thought, yeah, it looks nice. And then I noticed it was $99. And I told her, I said, well, I wasn't really planning on spending that. And it's not that I wouldn't have, but just that day I wasn't planning on it. And she said, Louise, are you kidding? This is a designer shoe. This is a designer shirt. It's a blah, 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 blah. And she said, actually, this is a $400 shoe. And so, guess what? My perception changed. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't live without that shoe. A $400 shoe for $99. So out the door I walked with it. And the next day when I got out of the car and stepped on the ground, I could tell that this shoe was wobbly. And what I heard, the inner dialogue, was this shoe is really not good for you. No, it's really not stable. It doesn't have a wide enough heel. And you know what? You better consider taking it back. I'm like, you're kidding me. This is my $400 shoe for $99. No, I'm not doing that. So just to shorten the story, by the end of the next day, I had a new designer shoe. And it was this. And maybe some of you have worn one of these. And if you did, you know that you joined the Universal Boot Club. Everyone wants to know what you did. They tell you what they did and so on and so forth. So this new designer shoe is a result of my not paying attention to what I really heard. And so our inner wisdom can definitely serve us well. And at this point, next, I'd like to teach you about the extended pause. All right, next, and it's four-part. The first one is stop in your mind, and this slows down your brain. Stop, and then pause, and then listen, and then consider. And you can ask yourself the question, is this something that's going to serve me or not, and serve others? And then, you either listen or you don't, but I'll tell you what, it's been helpful. And I also like to do this when I'm speaking to other people. I might ask myself, is this going to add value or not? And so honor your wisdom is something that I want you to pay attention to. Moving right along to the next slide, which is next, choose your story. All right, so we have many messages that we heard growing up, right? Don't get a big head, don't take up too much room, be quiet, all these different messages that we heard. And you know what? Sometimes we continue to believe that message, and I think adults meant well, but sometimes, like, don't get a big head can be interpreted in many ways. But here's what I want you to consider, is that maybe you are continuing on with that message and you have become your own story. And so this current message is a part of your story. And I'd like for you to consider that, because maybe it's time to change that. Maybe it's time to change it. And maybe in your current story, you're like a victim. Something happened to you and so on and so forth. And actually, many people are their stories. And they sort of, if I may, they enjoy the story about being a victim because they don't know what else to do. So ask yourself, are you still listening to the messages, and have you become that story? All right. And maybe it's time to change it. Okay? All right, and moving along to the celebrating your magnificence. I love this part, and I wish that we could spend time one-on-one interacting with each other. However, I want you to know that I want you to focus on your favorite strength and gift. Are you doing that? I want you to focus on it. And I want you to decide if you would consider shining a light on that more brightly. All right? And if so, that's a conscious choice on your part. And it's like you show up each day remembering what gift that is. And I'd like for us all to say them out loud at the moment. At the count of 3, what your favorite strength and gift is. 1, 2, 3, empowerment. All right. So here's the thing. I am going to ask you for the next 2 weeks to focus on the strength and gift and make it brighter than it's been in a long time. It's something that you contribute to others in a way that is very meaningful and powerful. And in celebrating your magnificence, next slide. Oh, we are here. Pardon me. We're right here. I want you to consider 2 choices that you have. And that is, number 1, you can play small. You cannot claim and own your gifts. And don't get a big head for sure, right? Just like play small. And I want you to notice the impact and the resonance of that choice. So here we go. All right, there you are. And that's one choice that you can make. And the second choice you can make is to actually step into the light of who you truly are, into your magnificence, and celebrate who you are, that you do this yourself. And there's a different energy that shows up. Marianne Williamson talks about when we do that, we call forth that from other people in the the light. So please notice the impact and resonance of that choice.